the radar, and you can see there's a squall out at sea which increases by 15 knots. Thank you. Or, thanks, Masako. Or you'll see it might be a thunderstorm over the ranges that's coming towards us in the next hour or two, which happens sort of September on, which is great snapper time. But sometimes you get those September storms, which are a bit scary. So, so just check all that if you can. Look, but generally speaking, you sort of got a 90% chance of what you're going to be doing the day before. I check it right before I go to bed as well. So I'll do it about 11 o'clock at night or whatever, before I get up at 3 o'clock. So, and burn the midnight candle. Does that all make sense? All good? Cool. I'll rub that off a bit later. So tonight, welcome along firstly. Well, it's a big crowd. We did 2 snapper ones already, and we knew it was going to be busy because they were busy. But we had to turn people back tonight because we didn't expect this many people. But anyhow, welcome along. So I'm just going to try and wrap up the last 2 seminars together. We'll talk about bait first, float lining, and then paternoster rigs, live baiting, and then we're going to go into soft plastics, then the vibes, and then slow pitch jigging and Lacanis jigs. And that's how it's going to sort of end out. Okay, so we'll cover everything. I'm trying to spend no more than about 15 minutes on each one if I can. So if you've got questions, please don't mind to ask during it because it's a bit hard to go back to it later. So best to ask while we're going through it. And I'll start off with what sort of rod I'd use for that type of fishing. Basically, like this is the average type rod sort of thing. You can up spec, you can down spec, whatever you want to do. And so we'll give it a go. And I'll also talk about fishing in that sort of technique in 30 metres of water, and also talk about fishing in 100 metres of water. So it depends. It's all relative to where you want to fish, and it's all relative to what size line you're using. So each type of fishing is similar, but there can be different formats in ultralight or heavier type line. So depends on the snapper. So has anyone caught a snapper over, say, 7 metres this season at all yet? Just you, Johnny? God, you guys have got to get into it. Okay, rightio. Let's give it a crack. So that's why you're here. That's right. Yeah. Okay. So look, Matty that works here is here today. He's ready to get tomorrow. His mate was out today. He went out to work today, and they fish off jet skis. How many guys fish off jet skis here? Or ladies and guys? Yeah, a couple of you do. And he got a 92 today, and he wasn't intensely fishing. He fished for long-tailed tuna, just in close, like 27 metres, where you don't normally fish for snapper so much. Got a 92 snapper in amongst these other fish. So we went out last Sunday to get some span crabs, and just dropped the pots out. And I've been on a span crab here before. I use pilters in my bait bags. I use a block of pillies for 8 crab pots, so I put in my bait bag. And I just went to grab the bag to clean the scales out, and 6 pillies in there, and a couple of rods in my boat. So I said to my mates who are from Japan, mate and father and son, let's go back into the 24s, have a quick snapper fish. Or not snapper fish, got to say, have a quick cut. A quick. Let's go have. I said let's go have a bottom fish. I said, I'll retake that. Anyhow, so we went back in there, and we'll hope to catch a maricot or a parrotfish or whatever it may be. And they were just wanting to catch fish. And anyhow, his son, I rigged his back line up first, just float lining, dropped it down. He got a snapper about 60 centimetres first up. Take a quick photo. And then I said, we've got to put it back. And they're like, eyes are lit up like this, like, why? So threw it back. And then I rigged both their lines up, father and his again, went back around for another drift. And I'll talk about drifting a bit later. And they both got to around over 50 each. And as the line's going down, I said, hey, you're on, your line's doing 1 million miles an hour. One guy's using a little overhead, someone's got here tonight, and the father was using a spin reel, and I looked at his reel, and this is like 1,000 miles an hour, and he had one on as well. So there's plenty of fish out there. So I reckon this Sunday, unfortunately the weather's a bit crappy, but the fishing will be really hot, and I think it'll be always around this new moon. It is really good fishing. So the next 5 days, if you look at the fish bite charts, they're off the Richter scale, but the weather's off the Richter scale. so. Yeah, welcome to the Gold Coast. Yeah, so look, and they'll bite. It'll continue on for another month, but you've got to really give it as much as you can when you can. I think the next weekend looks really good weather-wise. The fishing won't be, as in bite times won't be as good based upon the moon, but they'll still be biting their heads off because they're spawning at the moment. So that's the way it is. So anyhow, we'll get back to the bait fishing. So look, when I'm bait fishing for snapper, I'll use anything from like a rod that I use, same thing for soft plastics actually. Sorry, sabotaged here. So something around 7 foot long, to show the gear. 7 foot long, sort of like that 4 to 8 kilo size. I like to use that for snapper. I like to use a 4 or a 5,000 size reel. But in saying that, sometimes I even take up my little floaty rods and have a fat time using a 2.5 or a 3,000 size reel. But I like a 4 or 5,000 size. And I like to run about 20-pound braid, very thin, very thin. 30 max, but 20 is really good. And I run about a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader on there, okay? Or 30-pound, 40-pound mono, but I like to use fluorocarbon. Please remember, when you're using fluorocarbon, you can up the ante about 50% for the abrasion resistance. So if you're using 20-pound fluoro, it's like using 30-pound mono. Does that make sense? Yeah, so it's like a lot tougher. A lot harder to break and cut and saw off in the teeth, whatever. And you have to, especially with plastics, it's a lot more nice in the water, a lot more supple, whatever. Even though it's stiff, but it's thinner. So thinner makes more supple than stiff. That makes sense. And so that's my rod and reel. My leaders, I run a short leader. It's only about, I like to have my knot outside the reel when I'm casting. I hate it when my knot gets caught up on the way through and you end up getting 5 strands of line coming off the end of the rod. Stewie likes a long leader, but his leader's on the reel. It's not not halfway through the guides. So he'll run normally rod length, 2.1 metre leader. So he's got his little bit hanging down and he's got resters on there and then maybe 1 or 2 wraps on the reel. That's how he does it. But he's not here. He's up at Hamilton Island enjoying the race week. So that's where he is. But yeah, so that's my rod reel leader. Then I come down to my gear. So what do? I like to use pillies. Pillies by far my favourite baits to use for snapper. Like squid are good and other things as well, flesh baits, but pilchers are by far the best. But the hardest part is trying to keep them on the hook without bending, falling off, or whatever it may be. So firstly, good pilchers are important, good quality ones. Next thing is the rig. So I run a very small sinker, as small as I can, to get me down to the bottom as slow as I can, but not too fast. Because I believe those bigger fish are sort of normally, you see them on the sounder, if you're in, say, 40 metres, they're probably at around about 30 metres, or 28 to 32 metres. You'll see a little bit of bait and you'll see a couple of good fish. So if your sinker's too big, it'll shoot past them, I believe. They'll follow it down, don't get me wrong, but if you've got a bait that's just waffling past him, he's going to just nail it, which happens. And that's when you get that, like the other day, they just run out really fast off the reel. So I'll try and get away with, if I've got no wind and hardly any current, like a 1/4 ounce or even 1/8, but a 1/4 is a good size. So I'll pass that around. These are Lumo sinkers. People ask us, does a Lumo sinker make a difference compared to normal sinkers? Look, on the day if they're biting, no, it doesn't. I don't think it'll make any difference at all. If they're hungry, they're hungry. But when things are a bit quiet or whatever it may be, the baby's doing so well. The tension is to keep it as luminous and bright, I believe, as possible to get their attention. So those days when it's a bit quiet and there's not much current, I'll use really light. Okay, so I'll pass this around, and it's luminous. This one's luminous blue. Luminous blue is by far the best colour, I believe. I like the green and pinks as well, and normal Lumo, and it's all relative to, I think, pillies. So pillies, that's why I like blue and blue pillies sort of melts together. Green's not too bad, natural's not too bad, pink's probably left field. But pink as a jig head's fantastic, so I believe that makes it work too. But any colour is better than no colour. That's probably the best way to say it. Okay. Then after that, my hook rig. So there's so many different hook rigs. So whether it be 2 hooks snelled together, like 2 5/0s, I wouldn't use any less than 4/0s. 4/0s, 5/0s, 6/0s are my go-to. 7/0s if I'm using a slimy or a yakka, dead one. Live bait, I'll use a 7/0 or an 8/0 on a live bait. But we'll talk about live baits in a minute. And the other way is a 2-hook gang. I used to use 3-hook gangs. They still do work, but they're a little bit visual, I think. And when they bite at the end, that first bite before they hit it really hard, or sometimes they hit it really hard straight away, but If they do that first bite and there's metal in there, I think sometimes they might shy away and maybe not be as aggressive on the second bite. But when you've got two hooks in, and I cut the tail off, but I leave most of it hanging still behind the second hook. When they bite that, there's nothing there, and it's yummy. They're going to smash it the second time. That's just my thinking. So try it. Okay. So that's what I'm going to rub off the board now. So to show you roughly where the hook goes. I'll step out of the way in a sec, but if this is the pilly, bit of a bad pilly. Yeah, oh, that's all right. If their circle looks, I'm in trouble. So whatever. I cut it off about here. Okay, so it's about 3/4 of the pilly, or 2/3 to 3/4 long still. So this is gone. Okay. And then my hooks, I just measure it out so the last hook goes through the eye in this area here, or through here, whichever it may be, either through here or through here, right? So that's going to be the hook, right? If that makes sense. They'll be sticking out. And this will be inside, and that'll come out like so. And then the next hook's, I've got a swivel on there. I use a swivel. Okay, then the next hook, however long it is, and then that'll be internal there as well. And that's the end part. Sometimes they'll hook up on that too, but when they bite that, I just believe just try it. You've got to try it. Okay, we've done the 3-gang thing. We've done the cut the 2-gang off and cut the pilly in half and trying to get 2 bite on pilly. You're better off sacrificing the tail, chuck it aside for burley, whatever, and do it that way. Just try it. Now the hook rigs vary.
What's the swivel?
The swivel, again, it's a mental thing, I think, for me. Those snappers still fight, they turn around a bit. There's no chance of it, because they've got a really strong mouth. They've got a super strong mouth, they're crush hooks. There's no chance of it dislodging itself by fighting against a hook against another hook. Does that make sense? Yeah, I believe it's better. Yeah. Especially it's obviously hooked on the last hook. If you've got 2 hooks down there, that's irrelative. Yeah. And then there's all different types of hooks. There's like a short shank sort of live bait hook. And there's a tarpon hook, which is the strongest and probably the best. And then you've got like a new lighter Teflon coated hooks, are really nice. They hook up really good, but they're no good if you're using, say, 50-pound braid, you'll bend them out. So hooks will bend if your drag's too tight. So if you're using 80-pound or 50-pound braid and using light hooks, like, well, these aren't too bad, but like this first lot coming around, this one here, not that one, this one here. So these are the ones I was telling you about. Very sharp, very good. They just go straight in. But when you got a big fish on and you crank that drag up, say the 8 kilo or 9 kilo snapper, and you got 50-pound braid, you'll bend them out because something becomes weak, and the weakest link is your hooks in this case, because you got your braid strong, your lead is probably strong, but the hooks aren't strong. But they work well to hook up. So that type of hook I wouldn't use over 30-pound braid on, or 30-pound mono. If I'm going to use the live bait or the tarpons, you're going to get away with 50-pound just on the tarpon, and you definitely get away with the 50-pound on the bait hooks, on the live bait hooks. They're the strongest. Pass those around as well.
You find
Yep.
there's no problem with the gangs on the liveys?
Don't use them on liveys. Only on pillies and squid and dead slimies or yakas and stuff. And the dead slimies and yakas, I do the same thing. I cut the tail off. Stops it from spinning. The smell coming out, and they've got the softness there. Yeah.
Sorry, Doug, what size are those hooks again on those?
So I'm using anywhere from, I like 5/0s or 6/0s, but I will use 4/0s if I've got those little pillies. So sometimes you're going to get little pillies, you know. It's all relative to the size of the pilly, but your general pilchards or general squids that you're using, 5/0s and 6/0s. 7s are too big, but in a live bait hook they're fine.
With the squid, do you cut the heads off?
No.
Just leave the hooks?
So I actually, when I used to use gang hooks, I'd put the bottom hook through the head and start work back, trying to get the right size, of course. And sometimes I'd squash the head up into the body to get, if it was too long, if that makes sense. My hook could be too far down the hood at the top, so I'd pull it up. So it's always got to have the hook right in the top of the hood of the squid. So if you're only using 2 hook rigs, it doesn't matter if the head's sticking out and half the body's sticking out with no hook in it. You've got to just have the hook at the top. So it cannot spin, it cannot bend. It has to be perfect. Yeah. And then you got dressed hooks. So dressed hooks are the latest fad. This type of thing. Okay. Does anyone use dressed hooks or dress like sabiki type snapper rig sort of thing? Yeah. So look, it does make a difference. I believe it probably enhances your hook up, or not your hook up, but your bite rate by maybe 20%, especially on paternosters. But anyway, that's up to you guys to try it. It is a bit dearer though. Yeah. So that's the snelled hook, and then you have, that's the ganged hook. Then you have a snelled hook option, which is like these little rigs we make up here. These are, I think, 4-0 hooks or 5-0s. They're made by BKK. They're Lumo hooks as well. And we use a little skirt, whether it be that style or that style, above the hooks. So when I'm using 2 snelled hooks, it's obviously more natural because there's no like metal chain join, so to speak. It's just line and hooks. So that little thing there just sits above the top hook, and that's just the second hook on there. 30-pound fluorocarbon on these, and that hook rig works really well. But there's an art to putting it in the bait, and for that one, I'll just rub these hooks out. It's a terrible looking pilcher, that. It's his nose. It needs to be a bit more sharper. So when I'm using these, I was going to pass this. I'll pass one around while I'm talking to you. Actually, I'll pass this around. Thank you. So when I'm using those sort of hooks, I do a little bit differently. And Jack, if you're watching on Masako, on something, look at this thing here for a sec. Sorry, guys. Can you bring me up 2 or 3 whole pilchards, please? And I'll defrost them. This is on a plate. Thank you. So what I'll do, I put the hook. I'll measure it out so the last hook's going to go. I put it through here because obviously the bait's dead, right? So I put it under his mouth, and it'll go through there and come out there, sort of thing. Does that make sense? So I pin it together, okay? Not with a lively though, don't. But dead bait I will. And then you got the fluoro line coming down. And then what I do, I'll put the hook in, and it's internal, and then it'll stick out the side like that, sort of thing. But looking down on top of it this way, that's its eyes and mouth, and that's its spine in the middle here, sort of thing. It's only going through, and it's cut off here somewhere. It's going through about sort of halfway between the dorsal fin and the back where his tail was, around this area here. The hook will go through from the side, stick out like that. It'll be internal, but it won't go through to the spine, not that far. And then it'll stick out like that. Does that make sense? And then the other hook is sticking out here. So it's it'll look like that sort of thing. But it's actually sticking out. So it's a bit hard to see, but it's like that there and that's there. And that line sort of just like that. I'll rig one up to the moment and send around. It's a bit hard to see what I mean. But that's the best way to do it. If you go through the whole body, the hook's not sticking out enough. The hook up rate's not as good. It needs to be, the hook needs to be exposed probably about 5 mil out from the skin, that last hook. And that's the same for live bait, same deal. But live bait, you take away, the mouth is here, that hook will go through here and out there, sort of thing. And he'll be able to breathe because his mouth still doing that. In here and out. Okay, try it. You probably do this sort of stuff already. I don't know what you guys are up to. Just got to get this hook off me here. Sorry. Put that over there. Thanks for warning too. Okay, so.
If you had to choose one, would it be gangs or snell?
That's a really good question. I'd probably say snell. Yeah. But does anyone here know how to snell? I'd say there'd be less hands than don't know how to snell. Okay, yeah, so don't know how to snell. So you need to learn to do it. Okay, just jump on YouTube, jump on wherever. It's really easy to do. I do from the top hook down and I do a uni on the last hook. Stewie does snell on the first bottom hook and then works you up to the first hook. So does Jack. So we all do it differently. But whatever you're comfortable with, do it. The thing is not to make it too short. That's really important, and not make it too long either. So you don't want a big piece of line hanging out the side of it. It wants to be fairly neat. But you need to have it so that wherever you position those hooks, it's a little bit loose on the side. Particularly with live bait, they need to be able to swim. It can't be like taut, it's come in sideways. So we'll get to live bait in a minute, but that's the trick. Now, if I'm fishing the 24 fathoms, that first thing that went around, that's what I'm going to be using. If I'm fishing the 36s, the lightest I'm going to use is probably about 1.5 ounce. It just is too hard and too slow to get down the bottom with a 3/4 ounce sinker or a 1/2 ounce sinker in 36s, which is 65 metres. That'll make sense. So 2 ounces is really good at that because you always got a bit of wind, whatever's out there. 1.5 to 2 ounce. 1 ounce would be like the lightest I'd use, and I have to be using like P1 braid, which is about 15, 20 pound. So if I'm using P2 braid, which is 40 pound or 30 pound, I'm going to be using about 2 ounce. And then if I'm fishing at the 50 fathoms for snapper, I would start at about a 3. Again, if I'm using P2, line which is about 30 pound braid, 40 pound braid, I'm using about a 2 ounce or 3 ounce. And if I'm using, say, 50 pound braid, I'll be using like a 4 ounce or 5 ounce, that's 5 ounce, yeah, like that size. Because otherwise, you're going to be drifted over the spot, you've missed it, and your line's still going down. You don't have that luxury. It's always windy or current or something.
Still on the same size rod?
Yep. Yeah, rods doesn't change. I'll take back what I say. I may use a 6,000 or an 8,000 size reel with, say, 50 pound braid, only because, especially with liveys, because you've got kingies and amberjacks to contend with. You can fish all day and have a fat time on light rod, but you probably get sharked. Yeah. Okay, here comes the bait. How good's that? Thank you, Masako. Dinner served. Cheers. It's actually a nice looking dinner tonight compared to what I normally get. Cheers, eh? Thank you. Okay, we'll just let that defrost for a bit. It's already defrosted. You put it in the microwave. Did you? Okay. I'm doing my lunch in the microwave tomorrow. Okay, so I'll bring another one of these up with the snelled hook on it. Another one here. Pass it around. Thanks, Masako. Put the specs on. How many people go out in their boat and forget to take a knife? I do, often. If you've got scissors, that'll improvise, okay? Use scissors. Just simply, so that's the pilly. I'm going to cut off about that much. That's where I like to cut it, at about there. So that's my bait, okay? Exactly on the board there before. That's it. And then, so I'll just check my snell, make sure it's not too short. I'm just going to go in here, like about so. The pillar's got dotted lines on it. It's a perfect scenario. Just follow the dotted lines. Same with gang hooks. Follow the dotted lines. And I'll go down from the bottom or the top, depends. If you do it from the top or the bottom, just hold the head together as you're putting the hook through. If you just hold it at the top and push it through, it rips its bottom jaw out, or vice versa. If you hold it the wrong way, it'll rip the top of the head off. So you've got to hold them together. Just try and stab yourself it's a bit frozen actually, sorry. Try and stab yourself. Like so. And that sits there. And my little sinker. My where'd I drop my pilchard? There it is. I'm not sure hold it by the skirt. If you're using skirts, you can put the sinker in the skirt, but it takes away it still glows, but it takes away that whole glow scenario, right? So put this skirt on first, sinker on top. And you just use an Albright or an FG to join that leader to your rig. And that's it, just like so. I'll pass this around. I'll do up a gang hook as well, pass that around. But you can see how the hook's just pinned in the side of the pilchard, but it's enough. Your hook-up rate's extremely good. You can go a bit deeper in if you wanted to, but just keep, as long as it's exposed a fair bit, is really good. So the, sorry, young fella. Sharon, do you mind if the young fella brings up some of those gang hooks at all, please? If they're down the back there somewhere. Sorry, guys. I passed them all down. Mate, you're a champion, buddy. Thank you, my friend. Cheers, mate. So I'm going to use the Tarpon 5-0s. So same deal, cut the tail off. So when you're doing gang hooks, just hold it in your thumb, bum to thumb. Okay, bum to thumb when you put the gang hook in, remember that. Okay, and it's got the dotted line down the side here where to put the gang hooks. Comes with it. And just measure it out, it's going to go to the eye there, roughly about there. So my first hook's going to start right about here somewhere. So I just put it in like so, on the dotted line. Next hook goes in the eye. It's as simple as that, guys. That's it. Done. And it's nice and straight. Okay. I see guys put them in like there and up there and down there. Just keep it all uniform, nice and straight. Bum to thumb, follow the dotted line, work it out where it's going to go. Thank you. Sorry for the stench. And then, if you want to use a 3-gang gang hook, same deal, but I still cut the tail off right at the tail. Cut it right off the tail, okay? So if I was using a gang hook, that's the pilly there. I'm going to cut it. What was going to land? Right about there. Oops. Did that go on the baby? So sorry, love. So sorry. I'll give you something later. Sorry. Okay. Tail's chopped off. Okay. Yeah, lucky for the blanket. Oh my gosh. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. That's amazing. I thought it'd land down here. Okay. So any questions on that at all? All good? Everyone's good. Okay, so this is float lining. Now, we've rigged up our baits, we've done it all, we've got the line, we've got the bait done, how do we fish it? So, a lot of people, there's 3 different ways of fishing it. One is, you fish a big sinker, and if you're at, obviously anchor, it doesn't matter, or drifting, and you just drop it straight at the back. The current might get it, the wind might get it because you're drifting, and it'll end up in that vicinity behind the boat, sort of that vicinity there. If you've got not much current, it'll just go straight at the bottom. I prefer to have it at about that angle if I'm fishing straight down. I just like that angle. When I'm casting though, I hate that angle. But when I'm fishing at the back, I like it somewhere between there and about there. If it's like that, it's obviously the sinker's not big enough. I need to change the sinker, or I'll need to cast it up and let it come down. If my line's straight down, I've got too big a sinker on. I need a downsize, complete opposite. But if I'm drifting that way, I like to cast my line up that way. Okay, my thinking always is, and it just seems to work. You're here, you've cast your line there, by the time, and the bottom's here, right? So you're here. It's 130 feet deep or 40 metres deep, and I've cast out running about 40 metres. I leave the bar arm open on my line. I'm using a spin reel, and my line's slowly flicking out while it's going down. It's pulling a bit off, pulling a bit off. By the time it gets to around this vicinity here, which is my boat's caught up to it, if that makes sense. It's nearly directly below me. That's always when you get the hit. It just seems to work that way. Has anyone had that experience before? No?
So that strike's happening with your bail arm open.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
Yep. Once it gets past the boat, I obviously flick the bail arm over. And it'll probably hit the bottom by that time because you've let a bit of extra line out, unless you don't cast very far. And then I'll just take the slack up and have it just off the bottom, because you get too many little peckers on the bottom. So I might wind it up at 2 metres. Yep. And then when it gets out too far, I'll wind it back up and do the same again. So it depends on the sinker size.
When you flip that over, that's a light, you've got a light drag set.
Yeah, no, I don't. I have it, if you've got a bait runner, that's fantastic for that sort of fishing, because you can leave the bait runner on and there's no resistance when it grabs it. So bait runner, disengage the spool, it's like free spool. But if you've got an overhead and you're using an overhead and casting up like a bait caster or something small in that sort of size, you don't need to, you just leave it in free spool again. Most of these little bait casters don't have clickers on them, so you've got to be careful you don't get an overrun on the way down like my mate did the other day. But if you are using a bigger overhead, say like a TLD 15 or something, a bit bigger overhead, you'll need a bit of weight to get that to revolve, because it's a bigger spool, right? And it'll actually pretty well keep itself going down the right amount. Like there won't be any bow on it, because you need such a big sinker to get that spool to turn. So every reel's different to the size of the sinker you're going to use. Really, guys, when you're fishing, you have to think about your outfit and what's its perfect sinker size, hook size, whatever. When you can work that out, and for every rig that you're using, you'll catch a lot of fish. No matter if it's a flathead or a snapper or whatever it might be, jewie, whatever, it's all got to match to get that rig to work perfect. Because every rig, every different size rod has a certain capability where it's in its prime to work. And that's what we try and direct you to. But yeah, it's up to you guys what you want to do. But some people say, I want a 3,000 size reel, I can catch a male on plus catch whiting on. So it's pretty hard to do that. But it will have its advantages in certain areas. So it's all relative.
Hey Dougie, if you're casting with the current,
With the current, yep.
casting out the back,
Yep.
are you backing up as well?
Yeah, so next scenario. So when you do the cast up and it's in that scenario and you don't get a bite within that period, I wind it up just a little bit, and my line starts to go out the back. Before I wind it up, I always reverse back a bit, Tony. And at that time, if there's anything that's looking at it and it sinks back down a bit, that's when you get the bite again at that point. My motor never stops, it goes the whole time. Unfortunately, my hours look bad, but not really much travel time, more just and stationary time, yeah. But yeah. So keep the motor going. If you've got how many people got bow mounts? You've got bow mounts. So if you're using bow mount, really good when it's windy, no good when it's really strong current. So you get really strong current, you're trying to hold yourself spot locked on the position. Good to keep the other people from getting to your spot, but your lines will be chunk out the back if you've got current. If you've got not much current and you've got wind, perfect. It'll hold you in the spot, keep the other people out. It's always a good thing, but anyhow. But your line will be just a nice, subtly go down the current, slow current. Does that all make sense? Yep.
Why do you have the motor on? I'm trying to make it make
What rod? Oh, why? Because the backup. So if you haven't ever learned to back up yet on your boat, you've got to watch the propeller, because the lines get caught in props and your mates are talking to you, they swing their rod into the propeller. It all happens. It's a pain, but it's so good for fish producing. So the more deeper you go, the more you use it. So it's to give you that freedom, because sometimes the fish don't like it taut. They don't like the line tight, particularly if you're using a bit bigger sinker and you've got a bit of current, a bit of wind, whatever. When you've got the less slack and they're looking at it and the bait's more naturally just floating around, not tight, getting dragged, they'll hammer it, mate. They'll hammer it. So good luck? Yeah.
Just gonna get down to where like you do up your lines just.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's all. Do you want to, if you want a seat, then just ask one of the guys to get you a seat, okay? Thank you. Sorry. So it's really important that you learn to use the motor to back up, please, mate. Yep. And you'll see, if you're on a good charter boat, the bigger charter boats that don't sort of do much, they just drift. The guys that, when you go on a better charter boat, they'll back up, and that's when you get the bite straight away. As soon as you back up, the line goes slack, it hits it. So just try it. Good question, though. Okay. So that's about it on the bait side, I think. And is there any questions on that at all? Fight line?
Do you ever use drogue? Or
No, yes, I do. I used to use it a lot. Then I got an electric outboard that slowed me down a little bit. So if you get electric, you can actually pull yourself slightly into the current or go with the current a little bit against the wind, wherever it may be, and that acts as the drone, as a seesaw. Okay, but if you haven't tried one and you're getting too fast to drift, they're very advantageous. They're very good. You just got to remember to bring it in when you do another drift. I've run over a few. Only because you get excited and you're getting fish and you just want to get the lines and get back to this one. We do sell, I think we got some. Okay, so that's float lining. Now, when you're using a live bait, it's nearly the same scenario, same everything, except we're using a live bait, using 2-hook snelled rigs, and but we're using live yakkers, live slimies. Has anyone here used live bait for snapper before at all? A few of you have, and did you catch fish, guys? Big ones? Or did you catch trag and mac tuna and stuff, hit it? Dewey's all right. That's a good bycatch. Kobe's a good bycatch. So when you use a live bait, exactly as this gentleman was saying, you get bycatch of other good fish as well. So that's a great thing. Like some of our best catches on snapper have been on when you can't get the live bait, you can't get anything in the area. And I see, when I get to Seaway in the morning, I always see, like the last Sunday, there was at least 30 or 40 boats on the 20 metre, 18 metre reef straight out in front of the sort of the jetty, right? Not jetty. It was before the sun came up, it was a crack of dawn. I think these guys should be, well, it's not snapper time, I take back what I said. But you need to be out the spot at that time, okay? And there's always live. You think no matter where you go, I can go to any reef, I reckon on the Gold Coast, 120 metres into 10 metres, there'll be bait within about a K of the vicinity, whether it be on the reef where you're going to, or the next bump just near it. There's always bait, okay? You don't need just to go to the bait ground to get bait. The only time we do that is if we're going to be a late start or something like that and we've got time to get the bait. But I don't want to waste that crucial 1 hour, the first sun night, getting bait. Okay, I'd rather get it out there, I'll fish pillies and get fish anyhow, then when the time comes then I'll switch to getting live bait and putting the live bait out. But at times when we couldn't get live bait, and you probably couldn't get it in there either, sometimes the live bait's just really hard to get. They don't want to bite. They're there on the sounder, well, they're not much of it on the sounder, but they just don't want to bite. Couple of things to fix that. One is changing your bait jigs around a little bit. So obviously night time's hard to catch live bait. So that's why people sit at this reef trying to get live bait in the dark. It doesn't work very good. But there's a couple of bait jigs that I like to use that I've used every type of bait jig, done tests and done everything. This one, these two here, I think you got one of those in your bag. That's one of my favourites. But this pink one's my favourite, okay, the pink one. I'll pass these around. These guys never fail. You can try every other Christmas tree one or rainbow film, whatever, but these ones work the best, especially the pink one. But so that's a good start, getting the right bait jig. But sometimes if you can't get slimes or yakkers, then you get, say, goatfish or a mado, which are those little yellow stripe things, put that down live. The snapper will smash it, okay? They smash it. They love it. Because if there's nothing else around, they're going to eat that. And I think I've used one time like two like 90 centimetre snapper on one goatfish, because that's all I could get. And it was all half mangled, but it slid up the line. So I dropped it back down again in half, just moving, and got another one. So if there's nothing else around, they're gonna nail it. Okay. And sometimes they don't want the pillies. They want something that's live that they can get and hunt. So any live bait's a good live bait, but obviously yakkers and slimies and little 35 centimetre tailor are the best. Okay, very important. Okay, little 35 centimetre ones. Okay, how do we hook up the live bait? So I've just got a rig here, so I'm going to cut this off. So like when you use the live bait rigs, this is quite a short one. Probably only use that on like yakkers or slimies, small size, not the bigger ones. But this is straight out of the packet. These are a mustard one, they're not too bad. Let's cut this off. And put the last pilly on this one. So livey, same deal, same as I did the pilly before. So bum to thumb, okay, thumb to thumb. And I'll just go through here, like here, and try not to go through his skeleton on the side. And I'll just go through, and pop it up somewhere in his back here. Actually, not right through like that, sorry. It makes such a difference. Okay, I can see now. Okay. So you can go, if you go through the eye in this position here, above his eye, sorry, you go through that part there. The problem is sometimes they shake their heads and they'll shake it off and you pull it up and you won't get a bite and it'll come up like that. Have you ever had that happen with live baits before? It's common, right? So if you go through the top in his mouth, open his mouth up, a bit hard on pilchard, and then just stick it through the roof of his top mouth. Don't brain him though. Yeah, this is actually 7. It's a little bit big for a pilchard, but anyhow, give it a crack. And it's frozen, doesn't help.
But generally 6.0?
Generally 6.0, correct. 6.0 or 5.0. So, like so. So this one here has gone through. It's actually sort of in the middle of him at the top, but as long as that hook's fairly exposed is really important. Like I was saying before, it could be through the side, like so. Do it back through the side again. So it's sticking out the top there, or can be side on like I had before on the other pilly. But as long as it's exposed is really important. Make sure there's no scales on the tip of your hooks always, okay? With live baits and pilchers as well, really important. So I'll pass this one on the plate. Thank you. So you don't want the hook to be tight, the line between tight so that the fish is bent. It cannot be bent. If it's bent, it'll spin, it'll die really quick with its mouth open and it'll just die. So it has to be able to do that on the rig. Does that make sense? Really important. Then sinker size. Now, the snapper are generally down near the bottom, okay? And liveys, if you don't put a big enough sinker on, they'll swim up back to the top or get away from what's ever down there. They don't want to know about. So great for tuna, great for longtail, maybe cobia. Not good for snapper though. So you need to up the ante on the sinker. So I'd be using like if I was using a non-glow sinker, I'd use probably about a 6 to an 8 ball sinker. If I'm using an egg sinker, it'd be about 2 to 4 ounces. Does that make sense? 2 to size. Regardless of depth, correct. Good question as well. If I'm fishing out in, say, 100 metres, I'm using a livey. Unfortunately, it's going to get eaten by a kingy first, but that's just the way it is. But sometimes you get a big pearl or snapper on it. I'll use about a 5 or 6 just to get it down there quick and keep it down there. So if you ever fish for dewies and stuff like that in close, and in say 30 metres or the blocks, whatever, we never use under an 8 or 9 ball, even though it's only 80 feet deep, 20 metres deep. So same for snapper. They don't care, it's a live bait. It's a lot more natural for them. They just want to eat it. And yeah, very good. Any questions on that at all? On the live bait?
That sinkers down onto the
Straight onto the hook, my friend. Yeah, straight on the hook. Yeah, it just
burning in between, or
no, it's not quite hitting on the head because the hook's above the head. So everyone says I was going to bonk on the head, but it doesn't. No, probably does if it bends around a bit once, so the head or something. But no, it's pretty good. Yes, that's it. Next one, I'm going to go to paternoster now. So paternoster fishing. Look, my son Jack downstairs, when he was a younger guy, he only likes to jig, he only likes to use lures, he hates using bait. So I'd put him onto just dressed hooks because they're like a little bit like a lure, so to speak. And I'd be sitting there float lining and catching, 50, 60 centimetre snapper, and he'd be pulling up 80s or 90s on his paternoster rig with the dress hook. Didn't like that. I didn't like that. But that's how it worked, and it works very good. Actually, that picture of Jack was a couple of years ago in that.
Struggling to open that, but the front has
Oh.
a clip. Look at the face
Sorry,
of it.
I'll put my glass on.
Look at the face of the box.
Yep.
No, it's the face of it. There.
This one here, you're right. Sorry, there it is. I can see
Yeah, flip
it.
it back out. Yeah.
I'm a newbie, okay? Okay, so, that photo, he caught that on one of these, actually, when they first came out. So the snapper snatchers were originally made by Black Magic many years ago, maybe 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. That was the original version of these sort of things. And then since then, they've enhanced, got better, got more practical, whatever. This is actually tied on fluorocarbon, believe it or not. But this is the sort of thing we catch a lot of snapper on, and big snapper too, if you're going to use a paternoster rig. And the paternoster rig's great for people that are your mates that don't know how to fish. You just put a squid on and a pilly on and drop it down and tell them to catch the fish. I unravelled it the wrong way, sorry guys, nearly there. This is where I need Stewie. Young eyes. I knew I need him for something. That's coming up, don't worry. I've got another 30 seconds.
That's patient.
Yeah, it's patience. That's what fishing's about. You got to have patience, right?
You ever opened one of those things?
No, I haven't. No, it's the first time. You can tell I like using liveys and pillies. So I've just wrecked that one trying to get it off, but anyway, that's the way it is. So, okay, that's the way it goes. So that's you've got one of these in your bag. So silver on the top, pilly or squid on there, pilly or squid on there. There's circle hooks as well. And you run about a 12 to 16 ounce sink if you're fishing out the 36s, 8 ounce if you're fishing on the 24s, and at least a 16 if you're fishing out the 50 fathom reef. Okay, so remember that, 8, 12, 16. That'll do you. And yeah, just put the bait on there, but you can put it in the rod holder, and that thing just dancing around is going to catch fish, I'll tell you now. Definitely. And that's how they work. Sink it on the bottom, you've got a little loop there, you just thread it through the eye of the snapper lead, and then pull it through. Okay. So you all know what that is, right? Yeah, cool. So paternoster fishing, same deal Dylan asked before about backing up. Really important when you're paternoster fishing, mate. So important. So that slack in the line. So when you're paternoster fishing, you're running your line. You're sort of running your finger, but as the boat sort of goes up in the air in the swell, you drop your rod tip down. And as the boat goes down, you lift your rod tip up to take out the slack. So you're just on the bottom the whole time. If your line gets out a little bit at the back, put it in reverse, just reverse it back up, but get ready because when you reverse it back up, it's when you get the bites. And it's just mandatory, as long as there's fish below you. Anyhow, you might get grinners or flathead if you're not on the spot, but that's how you do it. And just keep it, you're forever doing this the whole time. And you might just let out a little bit of line every now and then, flick it back over, or if you've got an overhead, just drop in free spill, let a little bit out, just not too much, just a little bit, and then just take out the slack a little bit, and again doing that sort of scenario. Okay. When you get a bite, if you're using circle hooks, you don't need to strike too hard. It's hard not to strike too hard because that's just what we do. We want to hook the fish, right? But a lot of times, as long as you just take the weight up, they'll hook themselves a lot of the time. You'll just feel them jump on. And especially pearl is the big mouthfish. If snapper, if they're going to hit it, they're a lot more aggressive bite. I still do strike with circles because it's a habit, like I was saying. But if you're using like a suicide octopus type hook, like in your bag, strike at it 100%. But if you're using circles, try not to strike as much. But when you get one on, keep the weight up. Don't let it drop. Keep the weight up the whole time. When you have a big fish on too, like a big snapper, and say it's a good one, please don't just keep winding. It doesn't work. You'll lose it. You've got to learn, and if you do that half the time, it's still running. The spool's flying out. You don't realise that. You just get nowhere. So twist your line. So what you need to do is just before you drop down at the start, set your drag right. It's really important. Before you do any fishing, do it the night before at home. So set your drag till you reckon it's the right feel, which is not too tight, not too loose, but it's just a good firm pull, relating to the size of the line using. So no good having P1 20-pound braid or 15-pound braid and have your drag locked up fairly tight, because when you go to strike it, you'll probably snap your line. So it's got to be all relative to the size of the line using. So, like we guys bring all the rods all the time. Bring them in. We'll show you where it should be on each of your rods based upon the line using, and then try and remember it and then do it that way.
Is there a guide? You've got like a third of your break?
Yeah, if you want to put on a set of scales, it's different to trolling, right? Trolling we set at about a third, yeah, similar scenario. But if you're fishing for, say, cobia or even snapper, where you got to get them off the bottom pretty quick because they'll nail you otherwise, you need to probably set it a bit more than that. So firm, but relative to the line size using. Yeah, and try not to give them too much because they will go down. I think I told a few guys before, but Roscoe, the jet ski fisherman, had a water wolf thing on his camera once, and he was live baiting, and he caught about a 92 centimetre snapper or something on the 24s that he, on the diamond reef around that area, and it actually showed that there was actually maybe not quite as long as his shot, but a similar length to this, like a ravine that was maybe about this deep and maybe a metre wide to really narrow, and he hooked the fish like away from it, and it was a big fish, and the water wolf picture showed it hitting, and it just went straight V-line for that crevice and went down through that crevice and tried to chafe him off on the bottom. That's when they do you. But he was able to get it out, and you see him pulling it out of the crevice. So they're dirty fighters. They'd be like jacks, I guess, or something. Just you need to get them off the bottom. And they'll go back down again. They'll try to get you back down again. But generally a snapper after the second dive, sometimes it's not a second run, once you do that hard bit and you got them off the bottom and got them maybe 10 metres off the bottom, they rarely go back down again. And then after about maybe another little run, they'll generally they'll fight, but there won't be no more big powerful runs. They burst their belly. Yeah. Okay, I will talk about venting them a bit later as well. So any questions on the bottom fishing side? Yes. No, that's all right.
You're changing your rod sizes for when you're using a pattern?
Yeah, 100%. So like if I'm using, say, my real light, like this is a slow pitch type rod, but super soft sort of thing, with a pound lead it'll be like that before I even get a fish on it, you know. So some rods you can't use it for. And same with it's like your snapper type rods like this are not really designed for putting a 1 pound sinker on, you know. So again, it'll be bent right over sort of thing. So you've got to use a little bit shorter and a bit of give in the tip, but not too much. And the reel size will probably up the ante to a 6 minimum, 6,000 or 8,000 size, upwards, yeah. Or an overhead, probably about like a size 10 Speedmaster or bigger. Would be the smallest you've used out there. Yeah, it's also very slow too to get the fish on, so you've got no cranking power to get it up off the bottom. So you need that bit bigger recovery. Yeah.
On
Yeah, yeah, like it's still very good. It's still very good. So when I have them in the rod holder, I don't have to drag too loose. I have it fairly tight. So it's nearly hard to get out of the rod holder. But again, relative to the size braid I'm using. So if I'm using like the spin rod like that, I can't have it too tight because it'll snap the line. So it's set fairly tight. It's in there, it's pulling the line off, hooks up.
But you don't really miss many if you just leave
No, you don't. No. If they're hooked, they're hooked. Yeah. No, it's pretty good. If you're fishing on your own, definitely have at least 3 rods out. Yeah, I think you're allowed 3, aren't you? Per person? I think so. You're allowed 6 hooks on the line though. You have 18 hooks out. That sounds bad, doesn't it?
Is that right? You're allowed 3 rods if you waste it.
I'm quite sure. Yeah.
Just 2 hooks in each one.
You can have 6 rods in the boat, but you can only use 3 at one time. No, you can have 6 hooks on each one. Not that you'd ever do that, but you can. Yeah. And a gang hook's class is 1 hook. Have 6 gangs on each hook. It's 18 gangs. Yeah, that's right. I think a couple of us have been in that scenario before. So any questions on that? Any other questions? No, okay. A lot to go. That was more than 15 minutes. Sorry. Okay, soft plastics. Look, it's probably the biggest common type fishery in close is soft plastics by far. So we have a lot of customers, including ourselves, but a lot of customers that do soft plastics out here. The most common thing they use is a 5-inch sort of jerk shad. It's by far the most popular pattern. And the most popular colours are probably natural. So you've got an S tackle, one which is donated by S tackle, which I appreciate, thanks guys, in your bag. So if you know Marcus that works here, and Stewie's got onto it now too, that is by far their #1 soft plastic for snapper, that one right there. Or the garfish one, which is this one. I pass these both around. They do one called a white bait as well. I'll use that one, it's not too bad as well, but these are the guns. So they're a jerk shad. The other jerk shad we sell lots of are 5-inch gulp. We sell heaps of these things for snapper. Has anyone not used gulp? Okay, if you haven't used gulp before, they're biodegradable. They look like they're made of rubber. They're made of food starch. Okay, it's made of potato, so to speak. They are extremely good because they have a scent that they just want to eat it. Whether it be flathead fishing, snapper fishing, doesn't matter. They love that smell. So the only problem with using gulp is 2 things. You must, besides catch lots of fish, you must put it back in that bag. That's its house. And it's got to have that juice in there. That juice is what keeps it synthetically alive. So if you were to put that in water and leave it there for like 6 hours, it'll just go to mush. It goes all gooey. It dissolves. If you leave it on the hook and don't put it back in its house, it will shrink to about 1/3 the size, and you'll need to get a chainsaw to get off your hook. It's very hard. It breaks knife blades trying to get it off, okay? Stanley knife blades break. So that's its house. You can put them in a jar and put them all in one jar with the lid on it. Works well. But sorry. Look, if you lose the juice, no, they don't last very long at all. So that's why it's best to get. They do a thing called a gulp alive, which is like a big punnet, and it has. They don't do it in every pattern, though, unfortunately, but they do some good patterns. But there's 3 packets in one of those. That's actually better value to buy that. But it has so much juice, you can put like 10 packets of that into that one thing. Does that make sense? So that's the best way to keep it, because the packets leak and they don't last very long. It's the worst, yeah. But it's just something about it, the formula. It's a bit like using, if anyone's used S Factor, we'll talk about in a minute, but here somewhere, that stuff, yeah. S Factor on their soft plastics. This stuff is the same sort of pheromone, doesn't smell too much, a little bit, not much, but it really makes them want to eat your bait. Okay. Pass that around first. The other, sorry. No. So gulp's one of the only plastics I don't use any because they've got their own scent. They've got that sort of scent in there built in. It smells a bit like an off cheese vinegar smell, but it works really well. 7-inch, probably the next bestseller we sell. 7-inch sculpts for snapper are really, really good. Obviously, it's out of a rod holder on the 36s when the snapper on, and I'm running two, and the current's ripping, and I think that day I was running like 2 4-ounce Lumo sinkers on top of each other. On top of that, with about a 6.0 jig head, and just hit the bottom, 2 winds up, put it in the rod holder, doing my plastic thing over this side, and just constantly hooked up with a big snapper. So
You're using sinkers on top of your jig head?
yeah, I did, correct, on that day, because the current was ripping. Yeah. And it actually worked really well. When I was over at Montebello's last year in WA, fishing, we catch those ranking cod, whatever, and the skipper there, because I hadn't done it for a couple of years, and he reminded me, because the drift was like 30 knots as we do on every charter, and our jig heads hit the bottom. If you didn't get a fish straight away, you're airborne. So he put on some big, not Lumos, just big egg sinkers, straight on top of the jig head, and he said, just do it this way. And I thought, hey, I've done that before. And everyone's just like, boom, 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 on. So, and the Canis jigs, we actually switched to putting, because the Canis balls, where the line goes through, we actually put 2 balls together and had the skirt at the back, and that worked extremely well as well.
What sort of jig head weight would you gauge for the jets?
Good question. It's all relative to the wind, the current and all that, but if I'm fishing, say, the Diamond Reef, 24 fathoms or closer, I'll try to get away. I try to use about a 1/2 to 5/8, 3/4 max, 1 ounce if I really have to, but most of the time, 1/2 to 5/8, say. Okay, it takes a little bit to get down, but you've got to fish it like you're fishing a float line pilly. Same technique. Either out the back, just let it go down, cast it out, let it come down. I like to cast out, let it come down, and try and land. And my boat's there, it's sort of here in that position there, and I can actually hop it back to the boat.
When you get past that 45, it's no good, is it? It's
Correct, out of the question. So if you don't have a big enough jig head, just put a sinker on top of it. It'll work. I don't recommending that, but it does work.
Yeah.
You've got to improvise sometimes. Yeah. So getting back to the jigs, the other thing that works really well out here on snapper, Maddie, that's in tomorrow, the jet ski fisherman, he gets a lot of 90s like his mate did today. That's their favourite. That colour, that one, and that colour there too. But that's the most popular colour he likes. So it's the Crush City in the, is it 5-inch, I think? 4.5, but it's actually about 5-inch prawn. Absolute doozy. He runs about a 6.0 sort of 5/8, 3/4 size jig head in it. Because it's a bit chunkier, so it's got to get down. If you don't have enough big enough jig head, you've got a little bit of current, a little bit of wind, it'll sit in the water column, won't get down. You need to get down a little bit. As I was saying before, same when you float line for pillies. With pillies, you have to leave the bar arm open on your reel as it's going down. Don't close it up. If you close it up, it's got to pull the line to go down. If it's open, it just free falls naturally, flicking off the line as it's going down. It's a lot quicker, get to the bottom. Quicker means more fish, quicker fish. We sell a few of the live ops in the squid one, that fellow there, we sell a few of those. They tick over, but they're not as popular as those ones there. There's the rattle minnow from S-Tackle as well. I reckon this is going to be a go. I haven't tried the snapper. I come out sort of after the season last year, but I haven't tried it this year yet. It has a rattle in it as well.
the flathead though, aren't they?
They're good for flatheads. Yeah, they're very good, yeah. But that'll work on the snapper, I dare say. The armour ones, you've got one of these in there too. So these have a little tail, not a big tail like a lot of other pad tails. So most of them are V-tail, like a jerk shad, right? But if you're going to use a paddle tail, use a small paddle. Snapper like a small paddle, not a great big paddle. So a lot of lures that are that size, the paddle's 3 times the size. So this one has a lot of action in the tail and it's very small. Very, very good. They're good. I think you got some of those anyhow. Prawn. So we talked about that prawn that Maddie likes. So Gulp do a prawn as well. This fella here. A little bit like some other brands out there. But that'll work. It's quite soft as well. It's got that vinegar smell. I'll leave that packet open. You can have a whiff if you want as it goes around. And then power baits. Now power baits do, this one here is a new one again. It wasn't out last year when the snapper on, but it's out. They come out just after. I reckon this has got to be a snapper slayer as well. So it's a jerk shad, but it's segmented, so it's even more floppy on the tail. So on the way down, it's going to be doing a lot of action on the way down. Size-wise, perhaps a little bit small, but it's now about 4.5 inch, but they'll still nail that. The only thing with that is I'd be using a smaller jig head because it's so small profile, probably 1/2 ounce max, and about a 4.0 or a 3.0 even, not rather than a 5 or 6, like some of those other ones. But I'll pass that around as well. They do some really cool colours too. This is a weird colour. I reckon it'll work. Like any fish, if you run the same colour all the time, they get a bit used to it. They get hooked and get off and live to tell the tale. So I think they have fish schools. They tell their mates, don't go this lure, this colour. But that's pretty left field. It's like some sort of koi carp. But it'll work on the snapper. Probably got floaties too. And another thing we use when we're up there refish, and I haven't tried them with snapper too because again they weren't out last year, but they are out this year, is samaki in the shrimp, the live shrimp. These things, anyone use these yet? They are really, really, really good. And that jig head's a really good size to use out the 36 fathom reef, say 65 metres for snapper. That one I'm definitely going to give a hurl this year. They do a great range of colours. They're very sort of prawny like. I'll pass those around as well. They're about, I don't know, around $29 a packet, $30 a packet for 3. Rigged. Yeah, so any of that prawn chose the Japanese company. I reckon they think they makes fantastic. I reckon that one's a great snapper one too. It's got similar smell to the Berkeley going around, some sort of built-in scent with the little legs on the side here like a prawn, and it's hollow in the centre here as well. And again, it's got that not too big a tail but very floppy tail, which you just know snapper like. So you get to learn snapper like a profile that's long and skinny at the end and not too big a knob on the end there. Okay.
No Z-Man.
No, Z-Man downstairs. Those Z-Man are good too, but the paddle tails are a little bit big on, say, the diesel and that. They're a bit chunky. Their jerk shads, the centre ones, are really good. But I've got not many down there. Stu's done a big order, so I didn't show those tonight. Yeah. And you could go down to like that 3 inch size or 3.5 inch size, but that's about as small as you're going to go. The snapper. Jig head. Look, there's all different types of jig heads. Pink jig heads look are definitely good if you're going to use a white tail, but normal style are fine as well. If you're using, say, that bigger prawn, that's about the size Matt uses. I'll send that around. That's on the prawn. This fella here on the S tackle one that you've got in your bag. And if you're going to just use a general jig head, this is a 5.0 5/8. Sorry, 3.0 5/8. But 3.0 in an owner hook is like a 5.0, say, in a TT hook. It's quite big. That's a 3.0, but it's the biggest 3.0 ever. And they're really good. These are very, very strong, very, very sharp, and they really hold your bait on really, really good. So give those a crack as well. When you put on a plastic, just one thing I will show you. I'll put one of these on actually. You must put it on the centre as you can and the centre in the jig as you can. Does that make sense? So don't have it sort of skew whiff on the hook. It's got to be perfect straight. Perfect straight, when you're doing the darting, it's doing everything beautifully. If it's otherwise, it's sort of curly and it sinks down curly and the fish don't like it. So don't be lazy, unhook it, put it back on again. If you rip the guts out, throw that plastic away and put another one on, called bad luck. But don't fish with it not right. Does that make sense? Yeah. These are the worst plastic bags ever. Great product, bad plastic bag. So when I put it on, I just measure it. Okay, that's the top. It's going to come out roughly about here. So I'll go my way. I just look at it, hold my thumb in that area where I know it's going to go. From the centre. Now these are the stretchy ones. Stretchy ones are quite hard to put on, okay? Because they get caught up. But if you just go down the centre, you're pretty safe. Keep it in the centre all the way. Now where you thought it's going to come out. There's a little line on the top of most of them have like a join. That's where the hook's going to come out, on that line. Pop it around. Now most of them end up like that sort of thing. Put them on. Okay? Just keep following through, push it up. When you get to that point there where it's sort of like next level, but you still got to get it over that little hook retainer there. Just give it a big push up until it pops over. You'll feel it pop over. Z-Man's the same scenario too. And just push it forward and lock it in, sort of thing. And make sure your plastic's fairly straight, not like that sort of thing, and definitely not like that sort of thing. Okay, it's got to be straight. If it sits back a little, it's sitting back about 1/2 mil maybe. We're going a little bit more further forward, but it's pretty close. Please don't bend it too much, because by the time it gets down the end, it'll look like I did a bad job. Any questions on that at all? Now, work in the plastic. So I like to use about 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, which you got in your bag as well. That's my go-to when I'm fishing soft plastics for snapper inside, say, 50 metres. If I fish over 50 metres, I'll up the ante to 30. Reason being, you get the odd kingfish and whatever else. If I'm fishing out the 50 fathom reef, I'm using about 40 or 50 pound. It's just because there are kingies and amberjacks and other stuff out there that'll hit it. So, action-wise, it's very similar to what you probably do, because a lot of you probably flatty fish and whatever else. There's a couple of ways of doing it. You just drop it out the back, like I said earlier, let it go down, hit the bottom, and you can just do a little very small hops. They're a little bit like brim fishing. It's like not flathead fishing where you're aggressive and dum, 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 dum. It's very, very soft and subtle. Has anyone tried that before? And had luck? Yep. And just lift it just a little bit. If you want to cast it up and it goes out, leave the bar arm open, let it go down, and it'll still get down towards you, but it'll fall a lot more in that area there rather than down here. Hit the bottom. If it doesn't get hit on the way down, a lot of time it'll be sinking down. It's in that area, and it'll just like 100 miles an hour. You've hooked up on the fall. It's done for you. At that point, click the bar arm across, take up the slack and hook. Set that hook in as hard as you can set it in. If you miss, you miss it. But if you set the hook, you got it. And that's always been my theory on all soft plastic fishing, is go hard, set it hard. If you pussy around a bit, it will fall off during the fight. So set that hook, drive it home. Don't try to lift it up like this. Just set the hook, and make sure your drag's fairly firm. Okay, if I'm fishing for snap, I might actually a bit able to pass this rod around, but if I'm fishing for snap and my drag's set about that, I'll take this downstairs. You're welcome to have a feel of it later. It's probably a bit hard to pass it around here. I'll leave that set. Any questions on that at all? I will just cover vibes while we're here, because soft vibes are nearly the same action. It's just a little lift up. Has anyone used vibes for snapper at all yet? They're very, very good. The only problem is they take a bit to get down, because they're bulky and they're not as heavy a lot of the time. So you just need to maybe flick it up a little bit and get it down there. If you've got not too much current, you'll need to back up a little bit maybe. If you're spot locked, you'll need to flick it out a bit away from the boat and leave the bar arm open, let it go down. They sort of sink a little bit funny, okay? They sort of swim down, but on weird angles. But when you hit the bottom, just a little lift up, little lift up, drop back down. When you drop back down, don't drop it too quick. It's one thing in fibres compared to, say, soft plastics. I'll lift up, and I'll drop it quite quick on the plastic and hope they get hit on the fall. With these fellows, you've got to follow it back down. Not too slow, but just follow it back down to the bottom. So you're in contact with it the whole time. Don't have any bow in there, get caught up otherwise. It's too far to bring back up. You cannot use those really that well over about 50 metres deep. 50 or 60, that's about their borderline. Even the 40 sort of gram ones, they don't get down very well over 50 metres deep. Squid tracks a little bit different because they do heavy ones. They're a lot heavier. So if you're using squid tracks, great for snapper, fantastic. Same technique. You can actually do a little bit more of a lift up, and they'll sink quite quick. So you keep in contact and you can work them a bit faster. And they're quite good. But squid tracks are they get quite big. So the bigger sizes are a little bit gigantic for out here. Other reef, they're fantastic, catching reds and whatever. But out here, I think it's 130 is probably about the size I'd look at if you're going to fish, say, 60 to 100 metres deep. So the 130 mil one. Thank you. Good range of colours though. Any questions on the soft plastics at all? Yes.
I'm pretty new to the soft.
No, good mate. That's good.
But is it like, apparently everyone says you just got to use braid?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So
Thinness of the line, or?
many things. So the thinness of the line is probably the number one characteristic. The other thing too is you feel every little tink. So that tink is what you need to feel. You'll never feel it through mono. You'll feel it if one grabs it and rips off with it, of course. But the hit or the near hit or the miss or the take, you'll feel it all through the braid, mate. And the other thing is it's half the thickness, so obviously it's a lot easier to work the plastic, and you can use a lot of jig heads, whatever. And there's no stretch, it's just very direct contact. You get a little bit of stretch in your rod and a little bit of stretch in the leader, although fluorocarbon's quite not so stretchy. But yeah, it is just really, really hard to use plastics, even in the shallow water here on mono. Yeah, so if you don't know knots in the braid, which is what most people don't switch from mono to braid, they're scared of the join line, please, we'll teach you, mate. Yeah, it's easy. There's quick knots and there's hard knots, but start with the quick knots. Yeah, lots of knots works. Yeah, but yeah, we'll teach you, mate. So it's all good. And we can put the braid on for you as well. And it's not that expensive. You get, like, to be honest with you, if you're fishing in close here, like 150 metres will cut the grade under 50 metres deep, but really, and luckily a lot of the braids here are 200 metres. It's just that bit better. If you get wrapped around your prop or you bust off, you still can keep fishing for the day. But if you've got 150 metres and you're fishing in 40 metres deep and you lose 40 metres or 50 metres, it's sketchy on a big fish when you only get 100 metres of braid on. You got 200 on, you lose 50. You still got 150. It's not too bad. Yeah. Yeah. So keep your reels fairly full.
Do you have a tension checker for your knots and stuff?
Look, I don't. I test it myself. Every knot I do, but we've got obviously scales, the digital scales and sort of stuff. You can check it yourself if you want, but you need to get to the point where you can actually okay, that's all right. That's where it is, sort of thing. Because when you're out there, you haven't really got time to do digital scales and check knots and stuff, and it's guaranteed you're going to get busted off and have to retie. Yeah. Let's take a few rods out. You just grab another one, throw it out, sort of thing. Preparation's the key to good fishing. We were talking about this the other day about the flat out elite comp. The guys that had the really good gear were all the guys at the top because they got no excuse except for their technique, right? Because the gear is not going to fail. The gears are perfect and everything's they do right. Where if you haven't got quite the right gear, it makes it hard. For example, mono line, matey. If you had the guy next to you with a braid, he's going to outfish you guaranteed because it just works a lot better for him. So you just get everything set up right, you can't go wrong. Yeah.
Usually take quite a few pre-made jigs.
Yeah, so if I'm using snelled hook rigs, I'll have 5 or 6 at least in the boat, maybe 10. Yeah. Yeah. Because the trouble is, it's not a snapper going to grab your line, there's mac tuners, everything's going to bust you off and bite you off, and sharks will bite the fish off and you lose gear. It's all part of the fun. Yep. Okay, we're going to now jump across to slow pitch jigs. So is that everyone all right if I go to there now? Everyone's good? Okay. Then I'm going to go back through the spots and tell you what to use at those spots, roughly speaking, when we go to GPS marks. So slow pitch jigging. Probably, I have to say, in order of lure fishing for snapper would be soft plastics, Lacanis jigs would be next, and then slow pitch. But the way I've got it set up here, I'm going to do slow pitch next. So slow pitch jigs probably the last one to get people into for snapper, and it works very good. But it's just a little bit different because everyone's used to fast jigging for kingies and stuff like that. It's a different technique, but it's very similar to using soft plastics. Very similar to using the canvas jigs, where you're just sort of just hopping it a little bit. You're not doing much. Well, you're just doing half a turn every time you lift up, sort of thing. It's like a technique. But once you get the rhythm right, it works really, really well. The thing is, when you're using slow pitch rods, you have to have a fairly soft tip rod. So it will work on this type of soft plastic type rod, or soft plastic / float lining rod, but it doesn't work as good as, say, this type of rod with the soft tip on it. So when you get the rhythm right, it sort of like springs the rod back up every time you do that half turn. It's sort of like you get the rhythm right, and it just keeps going and going and going, and just works so good. But it's all relative to the rod, to the sinker size, lure size, and to your braid size to make it work properly. So this little one here's got 20-pound braid on it. It's about 300 metres, and you'd fish that right out to 120 metres deep, no problems at all, and catch snapper hopefully up to around about 90 centimetres on it. But and jig size on something like this, you're looking at around about probably around that 30 grams up to about, I think, around 200. 160, sorry, probably 200. I'll put 200 on there. But it's quite a big field, right? So why the big variance? Because it's the depth and it's the current and the wind. So if you're fishing in the 24 fathoms, 50 metre line maximum, I'd be sticking them around about sort of 30 to about maybe 80 grams. That would be my sort of heaviest I'd use in that area. Maybe 60, 80. If I'm fishing the 36 fathom reef, which is 65 metres deep, my jig size is going to be around about a minimum of 50 or 60 gram to up to around about sort of 130. And if I'm fishing 50 fathom reef, and this is all relative to the wind and current and getting down there, I'll be using around that sort of minimum of 80, but probably 100, up to about 150 or 200 even. Does that make sense? Is there a formula for that? Probably maximum would be double the depth in meters. Does that make sense? So if it's 40 meters, probably 80 grams. 60 meters, 120, and so on. You can go down from there, but don't go much up from there. So work on that. So you've got to get that technique right. And there are so many different types of jigs. Some jigs that will, even though you're slow pitch, they'll still dart away a little bit. Other ones will fall and flutter and fall away. Then they'll flip over and then they'll dart away. So that one shape is like flat and the other shape's like that shape, beveled. And when they fall over, they switch their design, their free-falling technique. And the beauty of that is it really pees off the fish that's about to nail it. So they think they've got it sussed and they're going to hit it at that fall rate, and then it goes that way. And that's why kingfish get really aggressive when you're jigging for kingies, because they can't work out. They just got to nail it. And they just, this is how I think. I think they just get really mad and they just nail it anyhow. But snapper a bit same too. But the technique's a lot slower. It's a lot slower. So that's your rig there. It's gentleman's jigging, or ladies jigging too, because it's not fast. It's not energetic, and it's just slow pitch jigging sort of thing. Has anyone done it before at all? How'd you go, guys, to get a couple of fish?
Yeah, it seems like you get lots of things on it.
Yeah, a lot of demersals.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah. Anything that's on the bottom will jump on there.
Yeah.
Pigfish, pearlies, unfortunately grinners,
Yeah.
sergeant bakers, all the other royalties. Sweep in the eye. But yeah, they work really well. But it's a technique that's getting more and more popular, but it's still not as popular as using the canvas jigs. So, how many people have used slow pitch jigs before? Okay. And how many of those people have caught fish on them before? Pretty all of you. Okay, that's right. It does work. You just got to get the technique right. And you guys, did you find how to get the rhythm right to get it right?
It's almost like less is more, isn't it?
Yeah, less is more. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I
Correct.
found you just sit right in the holder, you've got a decent swell.
Yeah, that's right.
Does all the work for
Because the
you.
tip's so soft, it bounces it
Yeah.
up. That's right. So the technique is amazing. It's as the gentleman was saying and Glenn's saying, slow, less is best, and just a little twitch, a little bit like using your plastics before. And as I said, except for kingfish, offshore fishing is extremely slow in the jigging side. Okay, or some fish a little bit faster, doggies and stuff, but most of your demersal, your bottom fish are very slow technique. Works slower the better. Okay, so in the styles of jigs, like I'll pass these around. This is probably the lightest I'd use in close. It's got kinds of pilcher scales. It's a 40 gram. This is a fast little jig, not fast in your technique, but fast in the darting. Okay, that's a long skinny one. And then I'll pass something like this around, which is a 40 gram, I think, as well. Yeah, it is, in a slow pitch, so it's a lot broader across the belly, and it'll have a lot more flutter. Japanese call it hira, which means flutter. And then you got squid type. This is like a slow pitch with a Lucanus technique of tentacles on it. Okay, so it's a bit of both. Again, slow pitch is a squid one. Japanese, again, a little bit more expensive being Japanese, I guess. I know it's not too bad. It's about $18 to you guys, but that's the sort of thing. That's a hybrid. So that's the first 3 going around. What I'd use, say, in the 24 fathom reef, 50 metres maximum. When I get to 36 fathoms, I'll up the ante a bit. I'd probably go to something like this fellow here. This is 100 grams, so it's the most I'd use out on that sort of 65 metre mark, around that size. Slow pitch. That's again the fast style. Okay, slow winding but fast. And then a bigger brother, but no tentacles on it this time, but another one of those squid type ones. Really cool looking lure. But again, it's a flat style. It's going to flutter.
Hey Dougie,
Yeah.
is that like a full electric reel or is it just
This is actually I call it E-reel. Everything's E these days. That's electronic. But this is a little one. It's from Abu. It's actually a little beauty. So it has a counter on it in digital. So someone asked before about using colour line. Very important. Reason we use it, it's every 10 metres. You know you're in the zone. So if you're float lining, or it doesn't matter whatever you're doing, you know if you got a strike, always look at the colour. First thing you do when you're trying to hook the fish up, is look at the colour. And remember that for next time. Okay? Takes a little bit to get the hang of that because you don't ever look at the colour, you're trying to get the fish up. But try and take note of the colour. And that's every 10 metres is there's 5 colours, then it reverts back to the 6th one will be the first one of those 5 again. So it changes every 50 metres, but 10 metre increments. This one has a counter on it, so if you don't want to use the colour line or you don't want to use the colours, it's on there on the digital readout. I don't know if this one's set up or not. I'll try and turn it on. Push down, open. This is Stewie job. Oh, no, okay, I can see the little thing, the little things that have come out. There is I see it is, you got to put something in there. That's why I can't open it. Sorry guys, technical difficulty, give me 1 minute. I'll be there. Oh, there we go. I found the battery to start.
Blinking.
Is it blinking? Yeah. I found the mic thing. Amazing. There's actually a parallel universe down there, and I've lost my. It's gone into the next universe. Oh, found it. Come back.
Stop looking.
Yeah, that's right. Exhibit A, I found it. Okay, so that goes there, and that I need that thing to turn again. Oh, okay. There was one. Oops. Set it around the right way. Got to line up something here. Oh.
Yeah, because the line's not used.
Sorry guys, I don't got to line this up, I think. Anyhow, it has a little digital counter on it. Must be. It's got to go in a certain way. Anyhow, it's a great thing. It does count. Once we work out how to do it. That's what I love about this doing this. It's all live, so there's no takes. And I'll show you downstairs. Got to keep going for the show. Sorry. So it has a digital counter, Corey, and you tell which way down. Getting back to the jigs. So at the 50 fathom reef, for snapper, and it's not too big because heaps of snapper these we've been jigging for kings and stuff, but that's the type of jig you want to use. Something around about 120, 130 grams. This is a slow pitch jig. It's not a fast jig, but it can jig it fast, but it's more designed for slow. Top and bottom hook. So the thing that you've got to understand is if you do try to jig a little bit fast, the bottom hook will hook up onto your line and you can't do anything about it except wind your line up and unhook it back off again. So when you do slow pitching, it never does that. It never gets hooked up because it just doesn't get the chance to hook up onto your line. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's why slow pitching is really good fishing as well. Any questions on that at all? Okay. Has anyone been at the reef and done trout fishing with jigs yet? You've done a little bit? Some of you have? Yeah, so it's a similar scenario, but for snapper, if you've done that type of fishing. Lacanis jigs. This is a Lacanis jig, the octopus thing. Has anyone used these before? If you have, you would have caught fish, I dare say. These things are like self-catching. If you haven't used it, you've got to try it, okay? There's a whole array, we've got 20 or 30 different brands down there. But remember the weights are similar to what we talked about before, but it's a little bit gram for gram. So 40 metres, 40 grams, 60 metres, 60 gram, 100 metres, 100 gram. Can you remember that? And that's just how they work really well. You can up the ante, double it if you have to, but try not to. There are two different types. So this is a fixed type. So this one is actually wire through, so it has a wire on the top where you tie your line to, and then the hooks are attached to the bottom. They're not pull out, they're fixed style. This one is really good for just working the bottom, but on the free fall, it works a little bit differently. It just keeps going down on its own, where the other one, sometimes the line, the sinker overtakes the assist hooks that are dressed with that skirt on it, and the fish like that for some reason. And then when you take up the slack and it pulls through to the head, they like that too. They hit that before it even gets joined back up again. So you get a lot more fish on the hollow one, the through one, than you do on the fixed one. If you ever try the both, you'll see what I mean. You try one against one, big difference. This still work, but not as good as the through. Through style is becoming more popular these days because of that reason. So Shimano brought out the Baku Baku, that was their original one. The Baku Baku style is line through. So it's a bit like, I've got one of the ones here that you guys got in your bag. Just show you how it works. So So the sinker actually is, that egg thing there is the weight. And when it's dropping down, sometimes it happens in this manner. Okay, so that'll overshoot that. Then, as that's going through the water column, they're nailing that because it looks like whatever it looks like. I don't know what it looks like. Octopus? I don't know. Then, when you take up the line, the slack line that gets pulled along through there, they hit it at that time too, because it's actually going against the current or going whatever, like something fleeing or something on the bottom, whatever, you get that hit. Then when you do just sitting in the rod holder or lifting it and working up and down, it gets hit as well. And a lot of time, again, it'll fall down, it'll pop out, and that'll follow it back down again, and you get the hook up rate again. So it's a lot different technique to a fixed style, but a lot more productive. Okay.
You try putting bait with it as well?
Don't have to, Tony, but Jack does, he cheats. He puts on bait. And this particular brand here, the hooks in are actually BKK, they're really, really strong. So this you could probably use up to 50-pound braid on, you know, even though they're very tiny. It's in you got one in there, give it a crack. And the other thing too is if you want to, you know the little, I didn't bring any up tonight, but if any of you do any gar fishing, whatever, you little silicon beads, okay? You put the little silicon bead on your line before you put that on. So between the hooks and there, the little silicon bead sits on here. It's only tiny, and you can pull it down over your knot. Then when that comes down, it'll actually, you can lock it in if you want to fish it fixed like the green one that was going around now, the original style, or you don't use that and you just let it run free. It won't lock in. Okay.
Any special action for them?
Least is best. Their legs are doing everything in the water, but I do lift it up and when it falls, the tail goes up and the head goes down, and then it pulls back through again, and that's when you get the hits. Yeah, but a lot of times you feel them biting on it all the time, Tony. You'll feel it like bing bing, like a little pull, and you'll miss it then, and then it'll be like a decent fish. Yeah, really good. There is different styles too. This is Japanese. Mine again has a big hole in the middle. It has its hole that the line goes through, but it has another hole. It's called a hover jet. And when it's falling, it's making this most big bobble trail. So you're getting two things free falling, if that makes sense. Yeah. This one's like a little, I don't know, looks like a cartoon character. But it has 3 hooks in it, not 2. It's a different style again. And then, so when you go to, has anyone been to Japan to the tackle shop and had a look at their jigs to play? Okay, so when you go over there, you don't see many, like in Australia, we make them for Australians, so the Shimano Diver does it pre-made, right? But in Japan, it's all, the balls are all hanging there like that, and then all of this type of thing, like that type of thing, is hanging next to the balls. Then you pick that colour and make your rig. I think it will change that way in Australia. We're trying to do it now already. We've got a fair bit down there, but generally speaking, most people want it pre-packaged. But it's the same thing if you took it out of the package. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So up to you guys, but it gives you the opportunity to grab whatever colour you want and mix and match. So if you bought that separate and that separate, it's the same price as buying that together. Pretty well the same price. You guys can try that. But you get a lot more options as well. It's flashy stuff, whatever. And there's all different heads as well. Like all different styles, shapes, colours, whatever. So yeah, big range. Oh, nearly there. Yep, nearly there. Oh, thank you. What's that one there, Dan? Oh, you are watching. Okay. This is, thank you. Oh yes, got it there, yeah, thank you. Has everyone got GPS marks, Ms. Sacco? No, I'll pass it around? Oh, okay. Oh, save the best for last. So this is those little silicon beads I'm telling you about. I'll pass these around as well, you can have a look. So the little silicon beads, before you tie your hook on, so you thread the head on, then your little loop on that little silicon bead thing there, you thread your leader through the loop, only a little bit through that far past it, and then pull the bead off onto the line. And then you tie the hook set on after that. Does that make sense? So head, bead, hook. Works good. So those egg ones that you got, which are pretty popular in Japan, they come in all different colours and sizes. It's the colour that gets them going. It's a bit like the Lumo sinkers, same deal. Makes a difference. So when you're fishing these things, drop it straight down, no casting. Straight down, hit the bottom, little lift up, drop back down again, little lift up, drop back down again. Put the rod holder, if you want to put the rod holder, like I think Tony was saying, put the rod holder, just wind it one turn so it doesn't get caught on the bottom, and just let the rod do its stuff. But it has to be a very soft tip rod that's capable of using 20, 30 pound braid on, or more. Okay. You could use something like that too. That's it's an expensive little rod, but that's quite soft and tip as well. That'll work as well. Short, but would work. So any questions on those at all? So I'm trying to do a brief of everything tonight so to get you guys into it and try it and try the different techniques. And if it works for you, then you can say, hey, this works. It will work for you. But then there's stuff you can add to it. Just do not add this to the last thing we talked about, which is the canvas jigs, okay? Because it sticks the skirts together and they don't do their job. If you're going to put it on the head, just the head only. The trouble is the hooks are not the head, they're down below the head. They'll nip the head, maybe not the skirt, not the hooks. So I don't use it on the canvas jigs. But I use it on everything else, like all your soft plastics, your vibes. Not really hard body jigs, but hard jigs, but I do use it on slow pitch jigs.
You ever put on your sabiki jigs?
Yeah, I do. But when I use those two, I don't need to. It works really good. Yeah. If you are at night time trying to get live bait and you do want to go to the closed reef on the way out, and it's not happening, put a bit of that onto the little tinsel bits. It's a little bit. Works good. The other thing too, if you have a big spotty on your boat or you have a squid light and it's dark, you have that 5 a.m, it's not daylight till 6, drop the light in the water or put the light on and that'll get the bait fish happening a bit as well. Wake them up a bit. Just try that trick as well. Okay, tools of the trade. Micro jigs. Last thing I want to talk to you about real quick. This is another fad that's going to happen. I tell you, it's happened in the broadwater now. We're selling so many micro jigs, like little 1 gram, 3 gram, 5 gram, especially the young groms. They're loving it, and a lot of us folk get into it as well. So we're using really light gear for the broadwater, obviously using like 6 pound braid, a 4 pound braid, 8 pound leader, and catching small snapper and catching everything on it. And the fish are just absolutely go hard on it. They just want to eat it all. So there is now micro jigs for offshore, okay? So where we'd use a 40 gram slow pitch jig for the fish on 50 metres, we're using 20 or 30 pound braid. We're now using 10 to 12 pound braid, using like 12 pound leader with maybe 20 pound bite tippet on the end of the leader, just so if it does crunch it doesn't bite you off. And using like a 5 to 10 gram jig. And because it's using so light, it'll get down fairly quick, believe it or not. It'll actually get down quite quick. And they come in all different shapes, sizes. They even come in little Acanis jigs as well, up to 20 grams from 3 grams. So it'll happen, trust me on this one. It's such good fun. And believe it or not, and it'll happen in Australia too, and we've actually got a lot of agencies do it, but a big fad too is actually catching yakkers, believe it or not. So actually catching yakkers on jigs, not sabiki jigs, but catch them on little jigs like this sort of thing. And bigger yakkers, the bigger slimies, and having an absolute buzz and getting spilled on 6 pound braid on like little mac tunas, whatever. It's going to happen, I believe. But let's pass this around. That's about as small as it's going to use. The hooks look very, very small, and you probably think, oh, I'll just straighten the hook out. But they won't straighten out when you're using 6 or 8 pound braid. If you're using 20 pound braid, yeah, they'll straighten out. Does that make sense? So everything is relative to what you use, like we said earlier. Okay, that's the last thing I'm going to tell you about. The gear. Okay, braid. One important thing when you're even float lining, it's important to get your line down there quick, reasonably quick. And using a thin braid is really, really important. Okay? So I'll pass this around. This is actually £20, but you can see how thin it is. It's a diver braid. And this is a £30 braid. I'll just pass that one around and give you some gist of it. So that's 200 metres, multicoloured, 10 metres, Leader-wise, we've spoke about the leader. If you want to let a big snapper go, say you get a snapper that's like, you got, and it happens, if they're on the chew, you got, say, 2 fish over 80, you only get 175 fish if you're on your own, 1 fish over 75. So you'll need to vent it or to get it to go back down. They will come up with their gut hanging out of their mouth. That's a venting tool, and you just spike them. It's a brain spike as well, but you can use it as a venting tool. So if you jump onto, what's it called? I can't remember the site. I'd like to get it for you and send it to you. But there's a site that shows you where to vent the fish and let it go. It's in the gut area. So when you brain spike a fish, it's up in the head. When you vent one, it's behind its pet fin in that area. And poke it in, and the air will come out. The gut will go back down in its mouth, and they'll swim back down again.
Ikejime or something?
Ikejime is the one in the head, that's the Ikejime spike as well. We can use it for also vent tools as well. We do have proper vent tools downstairs that are actually got like a hollow section as well for the air to release through the tool, and it's a bit smaller profile. But when you've got to improvise to get them back down, this will be fine. You see fish with horrific wounds on them where they've survived things that they should have probably survived. They're pretty hardy.
Can you pass
Yeah.
that around?
Yeah, I can. This is more of a brain spike though. But Misako, if you're watching, can you get one of the guys to bring up the venting tool, please?
Do you ever go mono for float lining? Or
No.
No.
Oh, look, I used to years ago. My dad only used mono because there was no braid around back those days. And we got customers that come in here that use bait runners and mono, and they use little overheads like TLD 10s and 5s, still old school, with mono. And there's a few pro fishing that use mono. Look, is a technique in mono these days. It's quite difficult to fish with mono if you use braid and brought up on braid. It's a lot more delayed. So you actually strike still the same, but you don't feel the hook up for quite a bit to hook up. So it's a funny feeling, but it works really well. Yeah. And it's a lot, you don't lose as many fish. It's a lot as aggressive on the fish. So if you get too stiff a rod and using braid and no given anything except for maybe a bit of leader, but if you've got not too big a leader on, you will drop a lot of fish because it rips their mouth out. The hook, something's got to give. So the rod's light, the rod will take a lot of the give. If you've got a bit longer leader on, the stretch will take a bit of the give. But if you've got nothing, the next thing to go is its mouth. And the hook will actually, even though you're fighting this normal, it'll actually fall off. The hook will rip through its mouth. Yeah, not all the time, but quite often. Mono delay stops all that. Yeah. Another good tool, if you've got snapper on, they've got big mulching teeth. They're a bit hard to get hooks out. They've got a very tough mouth. So just use a tool you can push or pull the hook out, okay? Great little thing. You see guys with a 60 centimetre snapper that looks about 90 because they never show their left hand in the fish. Not that one. It's a venting tool. I think O'Dragon do it. There's a few down there, but actually, Misako, there's a little case of those little needles with like a pencil down in front of I think the Z-Man sell plastics. Sorry. So what they do, they use a smaller, not speaking from experience here, Stuart taught me this. They use a smaller little lip gripper, okay, that you put in the mouth and you put it on the back side of the mouth, so it's still on the bottom jaw, but on the inside, and you hold it like that, locked in its mouth. And you put your hand on the tail and you hold the head like that. And that makes the fish look massive. Because you can't see the hand, behind the fish, okay? So if you want to get a good shot, that's the way to do it. That's it, darling, thank you. Perfect. Has that one got the light on? Yeah, sorry. No, I've got it back. I just don't know if I've got it in right. I don't know which way, I went the wrong way around. Oh, okay. I think I put the battery back to front. That's with the light on. Okay. There's a little light there and there's a little meter thing there as well. and you can turn the light off and reset it, whatever. You've got the battery back at the front. So, so I've got my glasses on again. They're here somewhere in my pocket. Okay, so this is a venting tool. Okay, it's this way, sorry. So, Misako, if you're watching, I don't think she's watching now. Can you bring up that whole case of these? I'm going to give you guys one each to take home. I think I've got about 40 there, hopefully. So all you do is you look online, but spear it behind that fin. Poke it down there. You hear it go, like the air will go out like that. Okay, and that's it. It goes. But you'll see there's actually, I think this is hollow all the way through nearly, and it goes out that way, all through its side. Okay, that's a venting tool. Back to the tools. If you don't have a little hook out tool, use a good pair of pliers. You've all probably got a big pair of these sort of pliers. Just use whatever pliers. Filleting a snapper. Does anyone here not know how to fillet fish properly? Does everyone know?
I chop it up.
You get a bit of flesh of a 10-kilo fish. So if I could just quickly show you, do you mind if I show you?
Yeah.
I know time's going, but real quick. There's just 3 things you've got to do, 3 areas. Okay. Do it this way. I'm trying to draw the fish upside down here. Okay, that's its eye there. That's its mouth. It's upside down. That's its bum hole here. Okay, that's its gill. Okay, so that's the snapper upside down. So face the opposite to bum to thumb. This is bum away from you. Okay, that's how you start off. Now with the knife, try and use a fairly long blade knife. The longer's better. That's be Stewie size. My size is a bit bigger fish. And what we do is we do our first cut. This is sort of like like that sort of thing. But you've got the fin here, whatever, down the bottom here. Try and follow the head around. Actually, that's it's going to set like that. Like that, your first cut's sort of in that area, if that makes sense. That actually goes back the other way, like this way, so whatever it is, like that way, okay? That's the, that's actually not there. That's actually here. Sorry, that's actually there. Sorry. It's a weird fish, that other one. So first cut's like that. Right up close to the head, through the flesh side, up behind the skull. And then you need to stick the blade down to the inside, internal ribs. There's ribs that are sort of like in this area here, okay? Rib bones. So what you do with your knife is you go, you've done that first incision all the way down hard to the middle spine. Next one, stick the knife down to here, right to there, and then sort of fillet it tight onto the bone till you get to, the little bum holes move down to here, till you get to about in line with that. And then when you get to here, so your knife's gone along here, and then stick it down all the way through there, okay? Does that make sense? So I've just gone here first, then I've drove it all the way through. You can keep going down here a bit further if you want, and then come back that way. But if your knife's long enough, you can go all the way down to there and fill it on the rib cage. The only thing is you've got little knuckles in the middle here, which is on the bigger fish in particular. Little ones aren't too bad, but big ones are. So if they've got the knuckles there and you've got, say, a 70, 80 centimetre fish, you'll need to keep going till you get to the lighter end of the knuckles, then go through about here. And then at the tail where it joins on here, bring the blade through. At that point, if you've done it this way, lift that over, that'll be all filleted, and then do that side of the knuckles level with the backbone. Does that make sense? With its spine. And then when you get to this part here, it's the last part you do. So this is all filled off. Just lift it up and just get your knife, because your knife's fairly flexible, and follow over the rib cage. Don't cut through it. If you cut through it, you wreck your knife up, unless you've got a good sharp knife. You can cut the bones out later, but if you go over it, and when you get to about here, there'll be meat here. The bones will stop, and then take it out up to the end here. So one cut to here, either go all the way through, or keep going along, then go through a bit later. Finish it, lift the hole, fill it up, and then go along here, and then cut over the rib cage last. Does that make sense? Then turn it over and skin it. When you skin it, start this, when it's the skin, like just the fillets like this sort of thing. Start about, I don't know, maybe 8 mil in from the end of the flesh. So you got something to put your thumb onto and grip, okay? So start about here and put your blade in there. And your blade doesn't move, but you pull the fish through. Does that make sense as you're doing it? And sort of do like a sawing action as you're going along. And pulling it and pulling it and pulling it. If the fish is too big and too thick, you'll need to maybe, if it's got, say, like a bigger fish, you cut it down here. But snapper, they are a bit deep at this area here. As long as you've got a fairly long knife, you can be able to go all the way through. Okay? If it's too big a fillet and it's too cumbersome, sorry guys. When you get to this area here, when you fill it and get to here, it's going to get quite big and difficult there. Put a hole in it here, because that's the meat's already over here somewhere, and put your thumb through it and get a really good grip on, and then just work it up. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. And then cut the pin bones out last. Okay. For those of you who get a bit sore, hopefully you catch a lot of fish, use something like that. The old rod belt days are pretty well gone. We don't sell many rod belts anymore in snapper fishing, but we sell all that sort of stuff. For jigging up, for putting your jig hooks on or whatever, a lot of the rods these days have split grips, like this type of thing. Oops. And a lot of rods don't have hook keepers on them. So this is I'll pass this around. It's a hook keeper you go around the rod on here, this area here, and you hook your lure onto the little hole on the rod keeper. Okay, and if you've got mates on the boat with similar rods, you know they're your rods too. Don't grab my rod. Don't grab my tool. And I think that's about all I wanted to tell you. That's all the little gizmos and whatever. Is there any questions at all? Yes, please.
Yeah, I got two quick ones.
Yes.
The first one is you're going out, and what's your preference out of all the styles? What's the first thing you go to?
Okay, float line billies. Right now as we speak.
Yeah.
I might use plastics or liveys, but probably plastics after around about 7 o'clock.
Oh, like later in the day.
It'll look like an hour on, yeah. Hour on, yeah.
Okay.
And if they're still taking baits, I'll keep going on the baits, but and I might get a livey to put a livey out because I might want to catch a cobra as well. If I'm at this time of the year, it's a good time.
So you never mix. The second question was, do you ever mix the styles? So you.
It's too hard. It's too hard when you got. It's too hard when you got guys on the boat, one using plastics, one using bait, and he wants to back up and he wants to say, my line's out that way, you're going that way, or whatever it might be. It's too hard. If everyone's doing the same thing, it's a lot easier to manage.
Yeah.
And it works, I believe it gets the fish going a bit better as well. They're focusing on that type of bait sort of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Can you use those like real low profile little snap swivels of like plastic?
Yeah, you can. So you know the fast touch ones? Just go like a size 2 or 3. They're not too bulky and they're very quick. Yeah, it has to be about a size 3 if you're going to use, say, about a 1/2 ounce or 1 ounce jig head, because it's quite chunky and it'll actually bend the size 1s or 2s. 3's good. 3's about 55-pound break-in strain before it stretches out. So your weakest links, unless you're using 50-pound braid, you're pretty safe. Yeah, size 3. 2 would be the minimum, 3 preferably. on heavier line. Yep. Anyone else?
Just quickly on
Yes.
the soft plastics and that, do you
Yes.
use like a loose knot?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do. Stuart doesn't. I'm speaking on behalf of Stuart here. He likes to tie directly to it. I like to use the loop knot. I don't keep it any bigger than a 5-cent piece. So it's always smaller than a 5-cent piece. So quite small. Why do I do that? I just believe it jiggles and dangles more nicer. Yeah, because once, if you're using flatty lures and you're only using like 15-pound braid or something, leader, sorry, or 10-pound leader, it's not too aggressive to distort the action of the lure, but when you're using 20 or 30 pound, it's going to stiffen it up a bit. So I believe it works better, yeah. Any other questions at all? Everyone's ready to go? Okay, just a couple of things. Marks, sorry, because I got run a bit late, it's 20 to begin. Everything good? Yeah. Oh, how'd you go with those things? How many did you have down there? We don't have, we got? 25. Okay, do 25 draws, okay? If you want to bring them up, please, is that all right? We'll give away 25. Yeah, I know. If you don't win a prize, you'll win maybe one of those. Sorry for the other guys and ladies. Okay, under 50 metres. So how many people are from Brisbane area? A few of you. Do you guys... Oh, you haven't got... Oh, you guys haven't got one yet. No, sorry. Thanks, Adam. Okay. There's a reasoning for that. Thanks, mate. If you can pass that around, thank you. So the guys up in Brisbane, I've put a few marks in there that are off sort of Moreton, but more off sort of, I guess, South Passage Bar sort of area, and down off Point Lookout way, in all different depths. So whether it be in 50 metres, 70 or 100 or more, there's a bit there. Anyone here from Tweed Heads area at all? Quite a few of you. So there's, for you guys, I don't have much in the 50 metre line, but I do in the 36 fathom sort of thing, which is, actually 09's only around about probably Kira. But on the 50 fathom one, I'll go right down to about probably Pottsville, maybe, or Hastings Point sort of thing. And then in the 120 metre line, down to about, about similar. So, like, how many people here have boats over 6 metres? And do you guys fish the 100 metre line, like 90 metres, 100 metres? So, does anyone of those guys fish for like flame snapper and stuff a bit deeper? So, yeah, a few of you do. So, look, we catch snapper out to 300 metres, and we caught quite a few. And the ones we get out in like 240, 260, 280, 240, 260 mainly, are average size is about 60, 70. You don't get anything under 60. They're all bigger fish, and they're really nice fish. Really, really firm flesh because the water's a lot colder. Thanks, Sam. Beautiful. So can you take those out of stock? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Oh, that's a tricky one. Would have stabbed me in the hand. That one. Didn't want to take that out of stock. Thank you. Okay, so whatever amount was there, yeah, so we get them out in deep water, so don't be scared to. They're going to be paternoster style. You can't really float line down in 220 metres deep, although you could if you put a pound sinker in maybe. But yeah, it doesn't really work. But definitely paternoster. But and we catch snapper right in, like you guys down south there, at say Kingscliff and that. You get them right in, on the shoreline pretty well. So the close reef, yeah, dangerous to fish, but. Yeah, that's right. I wish we had the luxury of New Zealand. We catch them off the shoreline and the surf. We don't have that here, unfortunately. But occasionally they come in the seaway. You get them in the seaway. You definitely get them in Moreton Bay, as we know. We just don't get many in the Broadwater. So, but you do get them in the seaway quite often in May, June, July. It's getting a bit late now though. But you definitely get, although the season's late this year, so they may be a few around. But you always get them in the seaway after a big swell, whether it be off the rocks or the guys land-based get them off the rocks, and we get them in the Broadwater just around the north wall of the seaway, where the poo pipes are there, come out in that vicinity. Okay, just remember that after a big swell. Go fish there, pillies, high tide, 6 o'clock in the morning, smack it, big ones. Fish just like you fish it for bream, but heavier. Okay, so you just need to put, these are all out of my GPS. So put all the marks in. I go to my spots now. I see people all the time on them. Doesn't matter. Every year though, I do find new marks, and every year. Oh, sorry, mate. You're right. Every year. Just want to turn that. Actually, did Masaka turn that off? I don't know if that's still going. Is it still going, mate? Okay. Sorry about that. Minute before the sun comes up is important, right? So I'll just do a really quick drift for about 2 minutes, a quick 3 minutes, bait the lines up, everything's ready to roll. See which way I drift on the plot, I zoom right into 100 metres, I see exactly which angle I'm on, go round to near my marks, and then I'll come down on that same parallel to what I just drifted, but on my marks. Yeah, and I have the sounder going. If I get a couple of good fish, then I may go around for a second drift, but I'll probably go to the right side where I saw the fish when I did the first past. And then I might do, if I got a few marks, I might do a little bit to the left of it, next drift, and then go again on the third drift. Or fourth drift, sorry. Third or fourth drift, yeah. And if you get nothing on the second drift, you're out of there. You've got to get out of there and go find the fish because that sun's about to pop up. It's a really crucial part of the morning. You will get a tide bite, which it might be if high tide's at 8 o'clock, you will get a bite about 8. So it'll be morning light bite. This weekend's such a good tide for it. So morning light bite, high tide bite, and then 2 hours after high tide is always the best bite, even if it's in 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. So if high tide was at 8, you're going to be on the fish at about 10.
Do you find that barometric pressure is sort of screeching?
Yeah, it does. So if you've got anything under about 1,013 maybe or less is terrible. 18 to 20 is not too bad. 20 to 24 is really good.
Do you find that
Yeah.
plateau, as soon as it plateaus or falls, or just...
Yeah, if you got a like a say a southerly coming in with a bit of a low, a bit of a thing, and it's still maybe 1,020, they'll bite their heads off actually before it drops. Once it drops, it's all over. It's just always a slow increase back up again though, so it'll drop quick, but it won't come back up quick. Not normally. Yeah, just the way it is. Moon rising is really good too. Moon falling is a really good time too. So if it's on the horizon and it's just coming up in the morning at say 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, that time you get a bite as well at the moon rising. And the afternoon, if you do afternoon snapper fish, afternoons we're good snapper fishing too, guys. You just got to be aware of the whales at night time if you come in after dark. As soon as it gets dark, the snapper go off the bite normally.